Alright my friends, how you all doing? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a fresh episode of our community build series, Jamii Conservation Park. We're back here at the facility, but today there's not going to be any building. As you can see, this is episode 6.5 and I'm basically going to cover all of the comments and bring to you the story that I've put together based on the comments that you suggested in last episode. If you don't know what I'm on about, ladies and gents, basically in last episode I did a one-time offer as we'd reached a certain point with our money that we would unlock 3 squares and we would take the series forward as kind of like the reptile section of our zoo was finished up. If you've not seen last episode though, I'm going to link it above for you now, my friends. Feel free to go and check that out, go and watch it. No need to comment though, because I've basically decided who I think sort of like the winners of that were. I've taken their comments, built a story around it, and yes, comments, not comment, and I'll get into that in a moment. And yeah, so that's all done and dusted. Feel free to continue to vote on the poll though, because I'm not going to reveal the results of that until next episode, and that was basically about time between episodes, so yeah, do feel free to comment on that, my friends. But yeah, let's get into today's episode 6.5. It's a special, and essentially this is the next stage in the Mikasa story. This is going to be the next stage in JCP's evolution, ladies and gents, and yeah, I'm really excited to bring this episode to you. I've been racking my brain for a couple of days in what I thought the best way was going to be to bring it to you, so I do hope you enjoy the way that I've put it together. I think it will work, I think it will get the story across, and I think it will make sense. Yeah, we're going to get into it shortly. There wasn't one overall winner, I'm going to throw that out there now. There were at least 6 or 7 amazing comments and I just couldn't decide. So what I have done is I've taken everybody's comments and I've tried to work them all into today's story, but any animals that were suggested, any facilities that were suggested, they've all been put on the waiting list, and I will reveal all when we get into the section shortly where I explain what's going to happen like with the build from next episode. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the next stage of the Mikasa story. 23 years, Darren, since before you were even born, and you want to do what with my life's work? Nothing, Dad. Nobody's touching the JCP Reptarium, I promise. We're sitting on a load of money though, and I just think, you know, we should do some good with it, didn't you? I thought we would just donate some of it, give it to a wildlife fund. But an expansion, I don't know, Darren, you know I'm not good with creatures as soon as they start growing fur and whiskers. Yeah, but throwing cash at somebody else is nothing compared to what we could do if we bought out plots 1, 3 and 4 next door and started branching out from these cold-blooded beauties of yours. I've got so many ideas and it doesn't even need to touch the reptile park yet. And who would put this together? You? Well, yeah, but I'd have help. I'm not a kid anymore. I can handle a big project on my own, or with Shelley maybe. Throw in a few architects, just please, you've got to at least let me try. You're serious about this? Yes, Dad, dead serious. Then I suppose I won't be the miser in standing in your way. I'll need to make some calls, talk this over with the local council and stuff, but I trust you, son. You're a young man now, and I knew this day was coming. It just came sooner than I expected, but if you touch one brick... Thanks, Dad, thanks. You won't regret it. Shelley, where are those entrance plans that boyfriend of yours drew up? Oh, Mary Ellen, what are we going to do with him? Just do us all a favour and let him spread his wings somewhere else. We'd like to extend a warm welcome to you all and thank you for showing up once again to tonight for our annual celebration. Tonight is going to be a little bit different though. For the last 23 years we've hosted this ceremony to celebrate the love we all share for our reptilian friends and the success in conservation we've all worked so hard for. This year has been no different in that regard. We've released some of our favourite friends back to the wild, from frogs to gear monsters. You name it, we've done it. Remember though, that's not all. We've got a whole generation of tortoises and gharials waiting to be released too. But back to tonight though, before I ramble on all night about our precious animals. Tonight I'm proud to announce that after intense discussion with my family, the local councils and experts in our field around the world, that we at JCP are joining the AZA. It's at this time I proudly hand you over to my son to explain the rest, as I'm placing him in charge of this new expansion of our facility, an exciting new step in our evolution. Thanks, Dad. So there you have it, gang. We're now part of the Association for Zoos and Aquariums, and I couldn't be more excited. Now I know what you're all thinking. How are we going to bring these animals to what we've already got? We just don't have the room. Well, the mayor of this fine borough has gifted us a huge plot of land next door to bring this new project to life and offered his full support going forward. He has also remarked on JCP's phenomenal success with animals and the help it's provided local businesses, and wants to give a little back to us. From the 7 vacant plots, we've been gifted plots 1, 3 and 4, and although they will come with their own challenges, they will provide us with the space to really get this new project going. As some of you may have noticed on your way into work in the mornings, demolition of some of the buildings on these plots has already begun, but we have to repurpose parts of the old factory as it's a listed building. I have huge plans for this, and I'm sure it will look stellar when all is said and done. There's also the old hangars to contend with from the small flying school, and I welcome any of your ideas on how we could reuse these. Shelley's boyfriend has already drawn up a spectacular entrance that will include all the bells and whistles along with a beautiful plaza. We have other highly skilled designers working on the first few enclosures, including a brand new tropical house. To finish, the new animals. My family and I are working our hardest to bring this community the biggest and best animals, even from the get-go. We're currently speaking with rescue centres and zoos worldwide, with Australia Zoo really keen to help us out. We are on the verge of potentially securing some lions in a swap for some of our baby gharials with a local conservation centre, some macaques, flamingos, tapirs and capuchins, to name a few from our friends at Australia Zoo. The Indonesian government's been in touch again with the promise of orangutans later down the line after the success that we've had with their Komodo dragons, and China even want to donate a breeding pair of giant pandas. I seriously cannot contain my excitement, and I promise you all that this is going to put our beautiful conservation facility on the map. Thank you for your time, and here's to the future. And so there you have it, ladies and gents. That is the story to this point. That is what you guys came up with. I would just like to thank every single one of you that commented below on that last episode. It really was amazing, particularly to Nightclive, Berenzine, Veganitis, Mr. Van Dyke, and I'm missing someone who I really shouldn't be missing, Alexis Doris, because they were the 5 people that I really took the most inspiration from their comments. Absolutely amazing. But every single person, I just want you to know, every single person that commented last time, a little bit of their comment worked its way into me coming up with that story. So absolutely amazing stuff from every single one of you, and I really think we've come up with something special. I like the whole idea of repurposing buildings. I like the fact that because we only had £1 million, the mayor's got involved. He's helping us out. There was a suggestion that the Irwin family were going to make us a sister zoo, but I feel like our Makazas are our version of the Irwins, so it was just a little bit too close to home. So instead I went with the mare idea that somebody else came up with. So yeah, any animals that you suggested as well, they've all been put on the waiting list. I think there was like loads of North American animals, wolves and bears. We had camels suggesting, we had tapirs, macaques, capuchins, anteaters, jaguars, lions. They've all been put on the waiting list, basically, ladies and gents. Some of them will work their way into the build. I'm very much sure of it, but yeah, we've got loads of animals to really be thinking about. Now, what I want to do now in this section of today's episode is explain how I'm going to go about the build based on what you guys have said. Now, I'm also going to potentially talk about what could go in future squares in this area, because I think it would work, and it's stuff that you guys have suggested, not just in last episode but episodes in the past as well, and it's other stuff that is kind of like on the list of things to do. Now, what I'm thinking of doing is as follows, ladies and gents. Now, there's going to be no building in today's episode, like I've already said, because it's going to take me a long time to get this done, and I am just going to throw out a little spoiler. I've already started, so yes, this is why you're getting this on the Sunday, and then next Thursday you will get the build. So the next couple of episodes, has to be said, will be done slightly differently as well. But what I'm thinking, ladies and gents, based on what you have said, based on your ideas and all that good stuff, is as follows. Now, I've already pulled the road up here, but this road is obviously going to work its way into this, into this plot of land. Now, I haven't put the factory, I haven't put the hangars or any of that stuff in here because it's just a bit of a backwards way of doing it. Yeah, I think it might have been nice to have them in to kind of like represent, where they were and things, but it's just, I'd have to build it, destroy it and build it again. So it was kind of like a pointless exercise. But what we're going to do is we're going to bring a road in to this square here. So this was square 1, square 3 and square 4. I kind of had a feeling these two were going to get picked anyway, but we're going to bring a road in. I'm going to do a small parking lot here. So this square here, I'm going to be honest, is essentially going to be taken up with road, a parking lot and just a bit of beautification basically. And the reason I'm doing that is because we need more parking anyway. Even if we were just going to have this facility, this is not enough parking, so we really need to introduce some more parking. Then we're going to take this road up and we're going to hug this wall with the road and we're going to bring it round and we're going to get to about this point here and we're going to pull it up this way at an angle. And then we're going to come up here and put like a little roundabout, so there's like a turning circle, so that any buses or coaches dropping off or whatever, they come up, they can turn around and then they go back on themselves, back onto the road, and then they can go back out. Now this little section here, the little triangle that's going to be left, is going to be turned into parking as well. Now I'm going to throw it out there now. The bigger the zoo gets, the more parking it's going to need. So I actually think that you've done well picking these squares, because essentially more parking could go in any of these. Parking could go in here if we wanted it to. It's great the way that you've done it. So that's what's going to be done sort of like initially with that. I also anticipate down here some staff stuff. Breeding centre, I'm thinking, because it's very close to the road. It'd be great for lorries in and out, that sort of thing. Research centre. These are all things that have been mentioned, basically, ladies and gents. That's what's going to happen. We're going to have this sort of like triangle parking lot. The road's going to be there, in and out, a little parking lot there. So it leaves us with essentially sort of like all of this space. Then after that, now we're going to be repurposing some buildings. There's going to be an old Victorian factory. I think that really, really works. That idea, I think it was Mr. Van Dyke who came up with that. I'm calling you Mr. Van Dyke because for the life of me, I can't remember your first name at the moment. I really should have noted all your names down, the people that left like comments and stuff. I do apologise for that. They mentioned like an old Victorian factory. I really like that idea. I thought it was phenomenal, especially as the zoo is set in the UK. It really fits in, and I think a factory would have been next to like a very small like airstrip that would have been like a flying school or whatever, and I do think this is enough room to have kind of like fitted that in. I think the flying school idea was brought to me by Nightclive. I really like that idea. He kind of like, what was really clever about people's ideas as well is that, like Alexis Doris, for instance, they started the story between the son and the father and supplied it to me in that narrative. Nightclive supplied his narrative to me in the way of a newspaper article. I think Berezine supplied it to me in way of a meeting. So it was like Dylan was, giving the meeting at the ceremony to his staff kind of thing. So it was really clever and it made it easy for me to draw that story up. But so essentially what I'm thinking is, because we're going to have the park at an angle, I'm thinking about doing the entrance at an angle. Because it'd be really easy to put the entrance in like here and looking north, and then have a habitat here, parking out the front and stuff. But we kind of want this to be like, we still want it to be unique, and I would like the entrance to face sort of towards the old facility. So I'm thinking of having the entrance like here, at an angle, and then on the far side of it is where we could place like the coffee shop and the restaurant that people have suggested we put into the entrance, and a gift shop and stuff. And then on the other side we could have like a little sort of like staff facility kind of thing, and then we could have maybe potentially like the flamingos. Now, flamingos are always near the beginning of most zoos because they're a very noisy animal, and I do like the idea of doing flamingos like near the beginning. And then the old factory, I'm I'm going to go one of two ways. I think the old factory would either translate into a really cool tropical house, and we could get multiple animals in that. And that's kind of like what I quite like about it, because the frogs are going to get moved over, and then there's talk of like other tropical animals. So like the lower level, you could have tapirs, then you'd have monkeys sort of like at, a higher level, and then you've got your sort of like mid-level stuff as well. So I think that quite works. Or the other one was that a couple of people suggested lions be like the first marquee animal in the zoo, and they could have like the factory as like their sort of hard shelter inside the quarters that they go to of an evening, and then they could have like a big sort of like outdoor exhibit. But I think really it's going to be a case of build and see. I think it is going to be a case of seeing like how much space gets taken up with parking, how much space gets taken up with the entrance, because everybody has said they want a really grand entrance. They want it to be, like it really got a pop. It's got to be really immersive. It's got to have stuff like inside. It's got to have shops. It's got to have a restaurant. So it's got to be quite like a big build. A lot of people have said they'd like it in a similar style to this. So, very modern, so we really sort of like bring it to life. And then I guess once the entrance and the parking's in, then I'll really know like how much space that I am left with. I think that one of the things I'm thinking about for one of the old hangars is that we could turn that into an internal building that animals go to. Potentially we could have like a veterinary surgery in there, because we're going to have separate facilities, like another vet over here. So I think we could have like a veterinary surgery in there. We could have sort of like the quarters for the flamingos, after dark, that sort of stuff. And then obviously I think the factory, like I say, either lions or that could be turned into the new tropical house kind of thing. So we could have the factory sort of like the brick building at the front, and then extend it off the back with maybe like a big glass structure or something like that, so it looks like a big greenhouse, something along those lines. I'm just kind of going off of what everybody has said, like at the minute I'm just kind of like throwing these ideas out there to you to let you know what's to be expected, but I do have very particular notes from what people said last time around. So I'm trying to find where those notes have been made. So like factory, part listed, Victorian style, an abandoned airfield. We've got the Lion Pride first exhibit, flamingo pool, entrance, San Diego was one that was suggested, and then the tropical house, Godwalland in Leipzig, Manataus in Nuremberg, and then we've got a pavilion, Swan Pavilion in Brookfield. So there's loads of suggestions, stuff I've got to look at. The gift shop, I think it was Primal Gamer suggested the Jurassic World Evolution one in the theme park, because the gift shop is quite a cool... the way it looks is really, really cool, and it's quite like minimal as well, so it could fit in nicely. So there's just lots and lots of ideas, loads of stuff that I've written down, and potentially I'm going to try and get them, a lot of it, in this space, basically, ladies and gents, because we've got the money, we've got the time, and I think like we have to expand, we have to basically go big or go home in that very first sort of like episode of the brand new expansion. So that's it, ladies and gents, that's what I am thinking. This is the land we're going to be playing with. So the way next episode is going to work is that basically I'm going to go away now, I'm going to do the build, I'm going to put it all together, and the next episode we'll come back, and I think what I'll do is I will present the build to you in maybe 3 or 4 stages. So we'll do planning, we'll do like build 1, build 2, and then like build complete. We'll go over it in stages, and then we'll basically start the episodes again how they're supposed to do with the whole moving forward 10 years. I'll have polls, I'll have comments, I'm sure, to talk about next episode as well, and maybe what we can do in that episode is I'll present to you some of the comments that I used each time I do a bit of the build to kind of like pan it out. So that's it, basically, ladies and gents. A relatively short episode, but one that was needed because things are changing here at JCP, and it's going to get very, very exciting. So do let me know what you made of the story in the comment section below. I'd really, really appreciate that, ladies and gents. Let me know if you liked it or not. I will continue to try to evolve this series the best way possible. The result of the poll from last episode will be next time, so do look out for that. Continue to keep voting if you haven't done so already. But my friends, I'm done and dusted. Subscribe if you're new, like it if you've enjoyed it, hit the bell notification button to never miss an episode, and yeah, you'll find my socials and my Discord in the description box below. But until next time, my friends, make sure you stay an extra, remain excited for what's to come next, and I will see you real soon.